1,000 miles. From Yukon to Alaska, 11 checkpoints. 26 mushers. 364 sled dogs. Minus 40 degrees. A race against time. Only one winner. Mushers conquering the Yukon Quest, the most extreme race in the world. It's February 7th, 2015, the start of the 31st Yukon Quest. Mushers set out on the vast trail that stretches 1,000 miles from Whitehorse, Yukon to Fairbanks, Alaska. 5,000 people invade downtown Whitehorse. The temperature drops to minus 48 degrees, but the cold doesn't discourage anyone. The excitement builds as the mushers prepare their teams.
We all have fancy gear. We have jackets for the dogs, the booties. Believe it or not, when you run, you don't really feel that cold because your body is an engine, your heart is pumping, the blood's coursing through your veins, and we are kicking, we're skiing.
Departure time approaches. Alan Moore is a two-time champion and veteran musher from Two Rivers, Alaska. He approaches the start line and prepares to kick off the race. Moore doesn't hide his intention to win a third straight victory.
Why would you try to go for anything less than winning then? Definitely it's worked. It's everything we've done, training-wise and everything, has worked pretty well, so we're going to try not to change much.
His dogs also thirst for victory and are eager to leave. Their first stop is the Braeburn checkpoint. It's located exactly 1/10 into the race, 100 miles from Whitehorse. To avoid accidents, the teams leave at 3-minute intervals. The next to go is Brent Sass from Eureka, Alaska. Last year, Brent scratched when he fell off his sled and suffered a concussion. He's determined not to repeat the same mistake. He's wearing a helmet recommended by his doctor.
When I started racing, and scratching never even crossed my mind. I never thought I was going to be the musher that never scratched. I figured there was nothing, I could get sick, I could whatever, I just slow down, I would always cross the finish line. So when that happened to me last year and I realized that I wasn't going to be able to cross the finish line, it was a big blow to me. It was like, wow, I have to rearrange my entire goal set for my career. And so going into this season, the number one thing for me was to cross the finish line.
Like Brent, Normand tries to shake the memory of his last race.
Mon espoir, mon but, c'est je veux que ça aille bien. Je veux juste que ça aille bien. Je voudrais avoir, comme on dit, une perfect run. J'ai pas vraiment l'intention de parler de à quel niveau ou à quel classement je vais me placer. C'est pas ça mon but. Je veux avoir une belle course.
Like other mushers, Normand will ride with one of his sponsors for the first mile of the race. With him is a member of the Canadian Rangers patrol group. Nicolas Vanier prepares his team. They're looking forward to completing the last 1,000 miles of their long journey from France.
Il faut faire attention à eux, il faut bien les déshydrater surtout. Bien les déshydrater, et puis non, ça devrait aller. Il va y avoir un beau soleil.
On sera prêt?
De toute façon, maintenant...
Damon Tetford is a Vancouver-based emergency room physician. He took a 4-month sabbatical to fulfill a lifelong dream. He's only been training since October with a rented dog team.
I'd been dreaming about it for a long time to do a long-distance race and just obsessed by the whole idea of mushing, and I wanted to do really well.
Despite Damon being a rookie, we can expect that his ultra-marathon competitions, years of experience in the military, and his medical training will make him a contender who is up to the challenge. Minutes from his first quest, Jason Campo is very excited.
Oui, je suis prêt, puis l'équipe est prête. On est vraiment excités de commencer, puis voir le Yukon.
Jason Campeau is now living in Alberta. His proximity to the mountains allows him to pursue his dream to run in sled dog races. A fierce competitor with a few short races under his belt, Jason chose to push himself to the limits this year. After running the Yukon Quest, he hopes to try his luck in the Iditarod, another 1,000-mile race in Alaska.
Je ne vais pas finir en premier, c'est ça que je peux te garantir. J'espère de ne pas finir en dernier, puis j'espère de finir. C'est ça mon stratégie, mais encore, j'ai jamais fait la course, puis si ça m'a dans le milieu du pack ou un petit peu meilleur.
Last year, Matt Hall not only finished in third place, he also went home with the prizes for Rookie of the Year, the Veterinarian's Choice Award, and the Challenge of the North Award.
We're feeling good. We're awake. We're pumped. We're ready to harness up and hit the trail.
Matt is also the hometown pride from the tiny village of Eagle, Alaska, the border checkpoint of the Yukon Quest.
My goals for this year's race, what will be a huge accomplishment for me, is to close up the gap a little bit last year between the champ Alan and myself. We'll see what happens on the trail this year. Even if I lose a few positions when I cross the finish line, if that overall time is shrunk up in the hours, that's going to be a huge accomplishment for me.
It's with good reason that Matt references Alan Moore. In 2013, Alan set the Yukon Quest speed record for completing the race in 8 days, 19 hours, and 39 minutes. A record that Hugh Neff is also determined to beat.
My goals tend to be always top 3, top 5. I'd rather come in top 3 every race than win one race, put it that way. And that's the beauty of my journey with the Quest, is that I've only won the Quest once, but I have 5 of the top 10 fastest finishes ever. And so for me, my goal is actually to do the fastest time ever.
Starting last, Hugh is already visualizing how he will pass his opponents and take the lead of the pack.
A lot of teams to pass in the beginning, which I'm going to do. Not because I'm gloating or anything, but it's just what I do. I mean, my dogs are chasers. They like to boogie, especially in the beginning, and I don't really want to be around a lot of people.
The start flag has dropped for the 26th and final team, Hugh Neff. All mushers are now on the trail, and the 2015 Yukon Quest has officially begun. Hugh's first goal is to pull ahead of the pack and reach Braeburn, a road stop with a few cabins 100 miles from Whitehorse. Will Hugh beat his record of 9 hours and 24 minutes? Bob Daffe and the trailblazing team maintain their lead on the mushers as they arrive in Braeburn, the first checkpoint on the trail.
La piste est en bonne condition, aucun vraiment problème. Les mushers apparemment vont assez vite. Ils nous ont dit qu'ils voyagent à peu près 15 km/h, ce qui vont arriver ici bientôt. Et voilà, on continue, on part d'ici maintenant vers la soirée. On va aller de nuit jusqu'au village de Carmax, à peu près 5 ou 6 heures d'ici, dépendant des conditions. La vie est belle, on est de retour sur la route.
Bob and the rest of the Canadian Rangers rise with the sun. The trail is as wild as the country it crosses. The team leaves early to proof the trail one last time to ensure that it hasn't been reclaimed by Mother Nature.
À moins 35, je vais essayer de faire partir ma motoneige.
The Yukon Quest Trail that connects Fairbanks with Whitehorse isn't permanent. Each year, a team of volunteers has to clear it or recut it. On the Canadian side, that task is handled by the 1st Canadian Rangers Patrol Group. A month before the start of the race, they were already clearing the trail. The Rangers are members of the Canadian Army Reserves. First formed during the construction of the Alaska Highway, the militia expanded during World War II to over 10,000 volunteers. They are in charge of protecting the country's northern territories. Though their numbers have since dwindled, the volunteer corps still exists, but its mission has evolved. They still monitor the borders, but it's now more of a rescue team than a militia. Using their knowledge of the territory, they are the first responders to emergencies. The first team deals with the section between Whitehorse and Mandana Lake. The second from Mandana Lake to McCabe Creek. The third follows the Pelly River from McCabe Creek to Jane Creek near Dawson City. The fourth team maintains the section from Dawson City to the United States border. Bob's team looks after the first section. Bob Daffe, originally from Belgium, has been a member of the Rangers for 6 years. He owns a rafting company and spends the summers as a river guide. In the winter, he teaches survival and wilderness first aid.
Quand ils ont dessiné la piste, ils ont voulu faire une course de 1000 milles, 1600 plus kilomètres, difficile. Ils l'ont fait aller au-dessus des montagnes, sur des rivières, dans des forêts. C'est pas vraiment fait pour être facile. Le nom de la quest, c'est pas une légende. C'est vraiment ce que c'est. C'est le défi pour les mushers et pour nous autres d'ouvrir et de maintenir une piste qui n'a pas été dessinée pour être facile.
Abandoned since the end of the last race, the trail has had time to change and presents new obstacles for the Rangers.
On est dans une forêt qui a brûlé, alors il y a beaucoup d'arbres qui sont tombés sur la piste. Ça va être très long à la rouvrir tout. C'est l'expérience des années. Quand on n'est pas sûr, on envoie les plus jeunes devant nous.
You always have Ranger rule number 2, plan that it's not going to work.
Oui, on essaye de casser la glace. Enfin, on essaye de passer aussi, mais on essaye de casser la glace pour que ça regèle. Et quand les mushers vont arriver ici, tout va être regelé. On sait que c'est un overflow parce qu'on est passé là il y a 2 jours. C'était juste de la glace en dessous. Mais on n'est jamais sûr, certain. Parfois, on est surpris et parfois, les machines sont prises dedans. C'est l'aventure et le danger.
In previous years, temperatures during the race have hovered around minus 45 degrees. Today, climate change has created unpredictable weather and unexpected obstacles.
Les conditions, c'est beaucoup trop chaud, pas assez de neige. Il pleuvait hier. On espère que ça va se refroidir, que ça va revenir comme le Yukon. Quand il y a un endroit un peu plus dangereux pour les mushers, on met une croix sur la piste comme ça pour leur dire qu'il y a quelque chose qui va arriver. Alors ils peuvent ralentir leur équipe. Si c'est très dangereux, on met plus d'une croix, à peu près 3, avant d'arriver à l'endroit dangereux. Un gars, une fois qu'il est parti trop haut sur le glacier, et le glacier s'est cassé, il est tombé à l'eau à 2 heures du matin. Et descendre tout bas, si on commence à patiner sur le glacier, on perd le contrôle avec notre toboggan. Et puis on peut glisser jusque la fond du glacier. Il faut les traverser et garder la même vitesse et planifier bien comment on pourra les traverser. C'est aussi un défi pour les dog mushers. J'ai parlé avec Greg Moore et il m'a dit que ces chiens ont commencé à traverser le glacier et le traîneau a glissé. Et il s'est retrouvé à l'eau en bas du glacier avec ses chiens toujours sur la glace. Et ils l'ont tiré, ils l'ont sorti. Et tout ça, tout seul de nuit.
The rangers put markers all along the trail to guide the mushers. But when the weather isn't ruining the trail, the wild animals take over.
C'est le lac Coghlan et chaque année, on met nos marqueurs et les loups passent et puis ils vont de marqueur à marqueur. Et ils les sortent de la neige et ils les cassent et puis chaque année, on va les refaire.
After 3 days, Bob's team reaches the end of their section.
Ça paraît que l'équipe de Carmack est venue jusqu'ici pour ouvrir la piste. Et qu'ils ont mis les marqueurs partout. Mais on va aller vérifier parce que notre mandat est d'aller jusqu'à la fin de Mandana, du lac Mandana. Fait qu'on va aller là juste pour s'assurer que tout est fait jusqu'à la fin du lac Mandana.
Despite the 3-minute intervals at the start of the race, the positions are changing fast. On the trail, some teams are already neck and neck. Normand slips from 3rd position and is now in a group of mushers between 5th and 15th position. They are all within 10 minutes of each other. Alan Moore, who left first, now has Jeff King hot on his tail. Hugh Neff, who started in last position, stays true to his strategy and is now in the top 10. Will he take the lead before the first checkpoint? Alan Moore and Jeff King are battling for first position. They'll soon hit the first checkpoint. The trail crisscrosses the highway that connects Whitehorse and Dawson City, passing by all the checkpoints in between. This road is the most direct route and takes organizers, veterinarians, and handlers to Braeburn, the first checkpoint. At 4 p.m., Jeff King steals the lead from Alan Moore. It's been 30 years since Jeff ran his last Yukon Quest, but it's obvious he hasn't forgotten how to do it. The teams run at an average speed of 10 miles per hour. It may seem slow, but the trail is 1,000 miles long and incredibly challenging. Their strategies need to be closer to a marathon runner than a sprinter. Contrary to popular belief, mushers are not along for the ride. They work hard and play many roles.
La Yukon Quest, c'est facile parce que les mushers se font tirer par des chiens. Non, c'est un mythe. C'est des histoires de Walt Disney World. C'est pas vrai.
We're working most of the time. What that does is it keeps you busy doing something, number one. It helps the dogs. It keeps you awake. And as this race grinds on, the lack of sleep really starts affecting you.
You got to be like a skier going downhill. You got to bend in your knees. You got to sort of lean into the turns. You don't want to be hitting trees.
The more I think you can do, and the more it keeps you alert and doing things. That's a huge part of the race is the sleep deprivation, for sure.
I've hit a tree so hard that my gangline with the dog snapped off, and the team became loose from the sled. We're actually back behind the sled, and you're skiing with a ski pole, or you're going to be kicking with your foot. But I just use one pole, and then I kick with my foot. And that rhythmic twoosh, 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 the dogs hear that, and if your dog team sees you working your tail end off back there, they're going to respond with that same amount of energy.
It takes incredible stamina to travel 1,000 miles in less than 10 days on a trail as rugged as the Yukon Quest. When most people imagine a sled dog, they think of a blue-eyed Siberian husky or muscular Malamute. They are no longer the typical sled dog. Racing has created a new breed, the Alaskan Husky. They have become lean and strong with an insatiable desire to run in the snow.
Best analogy I can give is, why does a black lab go after a tennis ball? If you throw it all day long, it will go after that tennis ball. Why? Because it's bred into them. It was bred into that retriever to retrieve. It's bred into these dogs to run, and they're not happy unless they're running. So we don't have any of that, I don't want to go. There's not a dog in this yard that don't want to go.
It's really not about speed anymore. It's about toughness, durability, attitude and appetite. And so my dogs are eating machines that just live to move.
Il faut qu'il mange. S'il ne mange pas, c'est un sérieux problème. Des bonnes pattes. Prends des bonnes pattes, des pattes solides. Un chien qui n'a jamais eu de blessure. Moi, j'aime une belle attitude, un chien content de tirer, qui est toujours, comme on dit en anglais, hein, willing, il veut aller, il est animé. Mais ça, c'est le chien que tu as le goût d'accoupler.
They have to have heart. It's just like any athlete. They have to be fairly smart, but they have to have a drive that's like no other. And that's why we mainly only breed to our dogs, is a lot of our dogs have that drive.
Si je veux amener du sang nouveau, je vais aller acheter un chien ou une chienne chez un éleveur qui gagne des courses. Puis, si c'est possible, le mieux que je peux faire, c'est d'acheter un de ces chiens qui a fini ses courses puis qui a gagné des courses.
For over a century, mushers have crossbred their dogs. Their goals are to improve the performance of their teams, strengthen the breed of canine athletes, and improve the health and awareness of the sport.
Et aujourd'hui, on peut dire qu'on a nos propres limiers. On peut appeler ça des petits casavants, là.
Despite the biting minus 45 degrees, mushers are taking advantage of this less rugged section of the trail to distance themselves from other teams. More than 12 hours separate the first from the last. People begin to gather at the Braeburn checkpoint to welcome the first teams. They're expected just before midnight. With only 6 hours of sunlight per day, volunteers are used to working by the light of a headlamp. Normand Cassavan is still falling behind, and Hunef is moving ahead. Who will be the first team to arrive?